Okay, this section about kind of data analysis is just a small section of your EOI, and it's pretty hard to teach just because it's kind of self-explanatory and you can't really prepare for it. So I thought I'd go over a few slides, just kind of talk you through best strategies. So a stem and leaf plot, I don't know if you remember these, but the stem, and this is the leaf, so this is 68, 68, 72, 72, 73, 73, 76. So that's how it works. Basically, this is the tens place and this is the ones place. Stem and leaf plots are used a lot for really finding the mode or the number that occurs most often are best for stem and leaf because you can get a good representation of what occurred most often and also kind of the layout of the data. We can see the noontime temperatures in Norman, Oklahoma are usually in the 70s. So that's kind of, a lot of these questions just going to be about what kind of graph is best. So that's what I'll talk about. It says so this is a stem and leaf graph, shows the noontime temperatures over a 1 month period in Norman, Oklahoma. Which of these is not an advantage of presenting the data in a stem and leaf graph? The shape of the data is apparent. I think that's true. It is easy to find the mode of the data. Remember, mode is the number that occurs most often. The temperatures are organized from least to greatest. It is easy to determine which day of the month had the greatest temperature. So the shape of the data is definitely apparent. We can see most of our data is in the 70s and then 80s. It's easy to find the mode of the data. That's the one that occurs most often. I think that's pretty easy to find. The temperatures are organized from least to greatest. That's true. It's easy to determine which day of the month had the greatest temperature. Well, that's not true. We have no idea what day of the month these occurred. So that would be our answer because it says not an advantage. Okay, so here we have one, sorry. Says James made a circle graph showing how he spent last month's allowance of $80. Okay, so we want to see which best reflects, the information in the circle graph. So we know he did clothes, movies, gifts. I'm just kind of making a little code over here of what he did least to greatest, food, and then gas. Okay. And then we know if he had $80, well then 40% would be how much he did on clothes. So if we do 80 times 0.4, 40%, he spent about $32 on clothes. On movies, he spent 20. On gifts, he spent 16. On food, he spent 8. And on gas, he would have spent 4. So I just took $80 times 40%, got 32. $80 times 25%, got 20. So this is how much he spent. Now let's look at each graph and see which one makes sense. Okay, for clothes, he spent about 32. Movies, he spent 20. Gifts, he spent 16. Gas, 8. Food, 8. Gas, 4. Yep, that looks about right. But let's look at the rest of them. This one, clothes, 32. Movies, 25. Nope, he spent 20. Okay, let's look at this one. Make sure you understand too that this is money spent in dollars and this is expenses. So make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. That's why I broke this down. This isn't in percents. This is in dollars. This one's in percents. Okay, clothes, he spent here 40. Well, he spent 32. So that can't be right. This one, clothes, 32. Gifts, 16. That says 2020. Okay, that can't be right. So this one is right. Okay, this is called a box and whisker plot. You should have seen it last year, but maybe you didn't. The word I want you to remember with box and whiskers is median. Okay, and median just means middle. So when you're driving down the highway, that big concrete barrier that's in the middle is called the median. It's in the middle. Okay, so remember that. So box and whisker plots, if I were to have you make one, is all about the median or the middle numbers. So you're given a whole set of data and you put it from least to greatest and you find the median or the middle number, and that becomes this bar right here. Then you take that data and you chop it in half, and we have the lower quartile and we have the upper quartile of the data. And here's the median, the middle of the data. And then you have these things called outliers that aren't in this core middle data, but they go all the way up to 90 and down here to about 15. So I'm not going to make you construct one of these. I just want you to understand it's all about medians and middle numbers. Okay, so we have the middle number of all the data, and then this is the middle number of the upper amount of data, the upper quartile. This is the median of the lower quartile, the lower amount of data, and these are the outliers, the ones that don't go with the rest of it. So just remember median, okay? And you'll probably get the answer right. The box and whisker plot below summarizes the ages of the members of the health club. What information is conveyed on the box and whisker plot that is not conveyed by a bar graph of the same data? The mean, the average age of the members. We don't know their average age. The median age of the members. Remember, median. Okay, the most common age, that would be from a stem and leaf plot. You could find the most common age or the mode, the one that occurs most often, or the number of members of the health club. We have no idea the average age of the health club. We have no idea the median, the mode, the most common one, and we don't know how many people are in the health club. But we know the median age of the people in the health club is about 34 years old. Okay, and that's just what that means. So just remember median. Box and whisker, median. Okay. Shelly made a bar graph showing the number of hours she spent practicing basketball each week during the summer. Which box and whisker plot correctly summarizes the information in the graph? So it's all about medians, middle number. Oops. Okay, we need to continue to remember median or middle number. So we have 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 12. So what is the median or middle number? Our middle number is 8. So our answer would not be this, because remember this bar in the middle of the box and whisker is the median of all the data. Okay, so it's not there. It can't be this one because that's a 7. Okay, that's 8 and that's 8. Okay, so now we kind of need to figure out the difference. And I am going to look at these outliers, or the ones on the outside. So this one says the outliers 4 and 12, and this one says the outliers are 4 and 13. So let's go back up to our graph. Our outliers are 4 is our lowest, and our highest is 12. So it has to be C. Okay, the town juggling club displayed their yearly budget on the circle graph below. Which is the best reason to display the budget on a circle graph instead in a table? The circle graph is easier to make. The circle graph can show all the information. The circle graph contains a category for other. The circle graph shows the relative size of each budget category. So the circle graph is easy to make, would not be the best reason to do that. It can show all the information. I don't know about that. The circle graph contains a category for other. This one's kind of hard. They all sound not that great. The circle graph shows the relative size of each budget category. I would say this one, because that's kind of why you use a circle graph, is kind of to compare things. Like if you're doing your own budget, you see, you spend the most on this and the most on that. And that makes the most sense to me, because when I'm looking at the juggling club, I can clearly see that they spend the most money on rent, then they spend a lot on traveling, and then equipment, and then performances and costumes. So that one is going to make the most sense to me. That's why these are hard to teach, because it's just a matter of understanding data. So the table below shows the number of letters in a paragraph. This is the letter frequency. Which graph represents this data? So we have E at 46, and then it should be A at 24. 46, 46, 46, 46, okay. A at 24, well, A is just to 20 there, that can't be right. A is about to 24 there, A is not to 24 there. A looks like it's at 25 there. So this one is our answer. And that's it. So I hope that kind of helped. These, like I said, these aren't super easy to teach because I have no idea what they'll look like on the test, but I think the important thing is understanding. Just make sure you read it all and understanding what a stem and leaf plot means, and that those are great for mode, numbers that occur most often. Okay, when they give you the amount of money and the percentages, they're probably going to want you to break it down, and that'll help you with this. So just make sure you're also paying attention to the details. What do the axes mean? This is the expenses and this is the money in dollars. Remember median for box and whisker plot. This is box and whisker. Okay, so this is the oldest person at the health club is 90. The youngest person is like 16. And the median, the person in the middle, if we take all the members' ages from least to greatest, is about 34. Okay, so it's just about median, middle. Okay, median here was 8, so we need that. And then the oldest, or this is number of hours practiced, the highest was 12, the lowest was 4. Okay, that's why this was the answer. Circle graphs are great at kind of budgets and getting a broad picture of things. They're not going to give you specifics. We don't know how much rent is, but we know it's 40% of their yearly budget. And just easy taking it from one to the other. I think these are kind of all about details, just really paying attention.